Welcome, crew, guys, gals, ghouls, and otherworldly beings. Let's climb aboard the mothership, secure our tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the Levadas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. I am your host, TessaTNT, and we are broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. Wherever you are, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. If you want to listen to us in your free time, whether you're working it, or working out, you can listen to us at Spreaker.com or TuneIn Radio or wherever else you may be listening out there beyond the Omniverse tonight. So it is story time with me, TessaTNT, this evening. Last night we had trippy TikToks. I actually also uploaded, and it could have been last night, it could have been early this morning, Chris Garcia's episode, and I've been trying to work on the sound to see and make sure everything is okay. So I'm hoping it is. I've been doing tests and checking it out, and I'm hoping that my voice isn't glitchy and this is working just fine. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you can, if I sound okay or not. Do I sound okay? Am I okay? Alright, so we're going to be reading Mr. Stephen King's book, Cell. And before we get to that, I remembered this time to do the thought of the hour, or it could be quote of the hour. And if you guys have any you want me to share, let me know. Send it to me at weareparadoxmedia@gmail.com. So the quote for this first hour is, "A day of worry is more exhausting than a week of work." So true. And I don't know if you guys know, but there's just flooding going on in many different places. But one that's close to where I live is in Texas, Central Texas. And there's like 79 people missing so far, or dead. I think it's dead. There was also a girls' camp that Mystic Camp, I believe it's called, and they found the main guy, basically the camp counselor, and unfortunately he was deceased, but 21 girls went missing, and last that I heard, they were down to 14 or 15, I can't remember, that still haven't been reunited with their families, and they haven't said whether they were alive or not when they were reunited with their families. So I'm just sending out positive energy and prayers and my thoughts with them. And I can't even imagine, if that were my girls, one of my girls, or all three of my girls, who knows, could be a group of sisters or whatever. I would be able to decide myself, like, man, it's been everywhere. And then we have fires and volcanoes and solar storms, and it's just a crazy time. I think it was yesterday or the day before, the what is it called, the Newman resonance or something like that, where it shows the waves of the Earth, positive, negative, etc. And at this certain point, it was supposed to be really exciting. Is it Newman resonance or Sherman resonance? I don't know. My all the timers is in a complete effect right now. I've been actually taking medication for what could be the reason that I've just been having brain fart all the time, but I think I could have ADHD. I'm going to get checked out for that. That is part of my brain fart, brain fog thing. And then the other one was just like hormone imbalance, and So now I'm on hormone therapy, and it's like 2 different kinds, and I'm feeling a bit better. Might have to up the dose because I'm still just really tired, aka dragging ass, and I'd like to be more motivated and feel more empowered without having to use caffeine. I've really cut down on my caffeine intake. I was having at least one sugar-free monster every day instead of like coffee or whatever, but you know, times get hard, things get tight, and so I was drinking coffee for a bit, but I can't drink it for too long because the tannic acid or whatever's in it really upsets my stomach after a certain point. But yeah, really cut down on my caffeine intake. But yeah, I've also been sleeping better because I don't get as hot at night, and man, I still have to install my AC. I haven't even done that yet. That'll help a lot, but for now we've just been opening the doors when the weather feels cooler than the main day's heat because it's been hot for me, you know? My mom's like, well, how hot is it there? And then I feel like an idiot when I say, oh, 80 something or something like that. When she's in Phoenix, Arizona, where it's well over 100 degrees. Let me look at the weather right now and see what it says. So right now it's 77, and it's still hot. A high of 87 and a low of 51. And then, let's see, how do I get to... Okay, so in Phoenix right now, it's at 103 degrees, a high of 109 and a low of 84. Like, they've gotten all the way up into the 120s before, but there's a severe weather watch for extreme heat warning. These conditions are expected at 10 a.m. Mountain Central Time, Tuesday, July 8th. Additional alert about the air quality, etc., but yeah. Looking on the future forecast, they can look forward to a high of 114 on Wednesday. No way, Jose. And let's see, for us, we're going to have a high of 89, and I'm going to feel like it's too hot. Maybe I should go for vacation in Phoenix. That way when I come back, I could just be like, this ain't shiz. Like, this is not affecting me at all. Although it is. It is indeed. I just hate being hot and sweaty. Unless there's a good reason for it. Well, it appears we are on number 19, chapter. I won't know till next chapter. Tom had his trilby. There was a good on Alice's poncho, and Tom had found Clay a Red Sox cap that would keep his head dry for a while at least, if the light rain didn't get heavier, and if it did, well, forage shouldn't be a problem, as Alice had pointed out. That would surely include foul-weather gear. From the slight elevation of the porch, they could see roughly 2 blocks of Salem Street. It was impossible to be sure in the failing light, but it appeared completely deserted except for a few bodies and food litter the crazies had left behind. Each of them was wearing a knife seated in scabbards Clay had made. If Tom was right about Nickerson's, they would soon be able to do better. Clay hoped so. He might be able to use the butcher knife from his location again, but he still wasn't sure if he would be able to use it in cold blood. Alice held the flashlight in her left hand. She looked to make sure Tom had one too and nodded. Okay, she said. You take us to the Nickerson house, right? Right, Tom said. And if we see someone in our way there, we stop right away and put our lights on them. She looked at Tom, then Clay, with some anxiety. They had been over this before. Clay guessed she'd probably obsess the same way before big tests, and, of course, this was a very big one. Right, Tom said. We say, our names are Tom, Clay, and Alice. We're normal. What are your names? Clay said. If they have flashlights like us, we can also assume... We can't assume anything, she said restlessly, querulously. My father says assume makes an ass out of you and me. And... do you get it? You and... I get it, Clay said. Alice brushed out her eyes, although whether to wipe away rain or tears, Clay wasn't sure. He wondered briefly and painfully if Johnny was somewhere crying for him right now. Clay hoped he was. He hoped his son was still capable of tears, of memory. If they can answer, if they can say their names, they're fine, and they're probably safe, Alice said. Right? Right, Clay said. Yeah, Tom agreed, a little absently. He was looking at the street where there were no people and no bobbing flashlight beams near or far. Someplace in the distance, gunshots popped. They sounded like fireworks. The air stank of burning and char and had all day. Clay thought they were smelling it more strongly now because it was wet. He wondered how long before the smell of decayed flesh turned the fog hanging over... Yeah, it says fog, not fog. I was like, what? Hanging over Greater Boston into a reek. Maybe that's fog mixed with... I want to say smog. I don't know. I almost said smog. Dang it. Dang it, Hades. Someplace in the distance. Yes, we went over that. Where's the fog? Where did it go? If we meet normal people and they ask us what we're doing or where we're going, remember the story, she said. We're looking for survivors, Tom said. That's right, because they're our friends and neighbors. Any people we meet will just be passing through. We want to keep moving. Later on, we'll probably want to hook up with other normal people because there's safety in numbers. But right now, we'd like to get to those guns, Clay said. If there are any guns yet, come on, Alice, let's do this. She looked worriedly at him. What's wrong? What am I missing? You can tell me. I know, I'm just a kid. Patiently as he could, with nerves that felt like overtuned guitar strings, Clay said, There's nothing wrong with it, honey. I just want to get rolling. I don't think we're going to see anyone anyway. I think it's too soon. I hope you're right, she said. My hair's a mess, and I've chipped a nail. They looked at her silently for a moment, then laughed. After that, it was better among them, and stayed better until the end. No, Alice said. She made a gagging sound. No, I can't. A louder gagging sound than, I'm going to throw up. I'm sorry. She plunged out of the Coleman's glare and into the gloom of Nickerson's living room, which adjoined the kitchen via a wide arc. Clay heard a soft thump as she went to her knees on the carpet, then more gagging, a pause, a gasp, and then she was vomiting. He was almost relieved. Oh, Christ, Tom said. He pulled a long, gasping breath, and this time spoke in a wavering exhalation that was nearly a howl. Please. Tom, Clay said. He saw how the little man was swaying on his feet and understood he was on the verge of fainting. Why not? These bloody leavings had been his neighbors. Tom! He stepped between Tom and the two bodies on the kitchen floor. Between Tom and most of the splattered blood, which looked as black as India ink in the Coleman's unforgiving white glare. He tapped the side of Tom's face with his free hand. Don't pass out. And when he saw Tom steady on his feet, he dropped his voice a little. Go on in the other room and take care of Alice. I'll take care of the kitchen. Why would you want to go in there? Tom asked. That's Beth Nickerson with her brains all over. He swallowed. There was an audible click in his throat. Most of her face is gone, but I recognize the blue jumper with the white snowflakes on it, and That's hiding on the floor by the center island. Their daughter. I recognized her, even with... He shook his head as if to clear it, then repeated, "Why would you want to?" "I'm pretty sure I see what we came for," Clay said. He was astounded by how calm he sounded. "In the kitchen?" Tom tried to look past, and Clay moved to block his view. "Trust me. You see too, Alice. If she can, you two start looking around for more guns. Shout if you hit pay dirt, and be careful. Mr. Nickerson may be here too. I mean, we could assume he was at work when all this went down, but as Alice's dad says, assume makes an ass out of you and me," Tom said. He managed a sickly smile. "Gotcha." He started to turn away, then turned back. "I don't care where we go, Clay, but I don't want to stay here any longer than we have to. I didn't exactly love Arnie and Beth Nickerson, but they were my neighbors, and they treated me a hell of a lot better than that idiot Scatoni from around the block." "Understood." Tom snapped on his flashlight and went into the Nickersons' living room. Clay heard him murmuring to Alice, comforting her. Stilling himself, Clay walked into the kitchen with the Coleman lantern held up, stepping around the puddles of blood on the hardwood floor. It had dried now, but he still didn't want to put his shoes in any more of it than he had to. The girl lying on her back by the center island had been tall, but both the pigtails and the angular lines of her body suggested a child 2 or 3 years younger than Alice. Her head was caught at a strenuous angle, almost a parody of interrogation, and her dead eyes bulged. Her hair had been broomstraw blonde, but all of it on the left side of her head. The side that had taken the blow which killed her was now the same dark maroon as the stains on the floor. Her mother reclined below the counter to the right of the stove, where the handsome cherrywood cabinets came together to form a corner. Her hands were ghost white with flour, and her bloody bitten legs were indecorously splayed. Once before starting work on a limited-run comic called Battle Hell, Clay had accessed a selection of fatal gunshot photos on the web, thinking there might be something he could use. There was not. Gunshot wounds spoke a terrible blank language of their own, and here it was again. Beth Nickerson was mostly spray and bristle from her left eye on up. Her right eye had drifted into the upper orbit of its socket, as if she had died trying to look into her own head. Her back hair and a good deal of her brain matter was caked on the cherrywood cabinet, against which she had leaned in her brief moments of dying. A few flies were buzzing around her. Clay began to gag. He turned his head and covered his mouth. He told himself he had to control himself. In the other room, Alice had stopped vomiting. In fact, he could hear her and Tom talking together as they moved deeper into the house, and he didn't want to get her going again. Think of them as dummies, props in a movie, he told himself, but he knew he could never do that. When he looked back, he looked at the other things on the floor instead. That helped. The gun he had already seen. The kitchen was spacious, and the gun was all the way on the other side, lying between the fridge and one of the cabinets with the barrel sticking out. His first impulse on seeing the dead woman and the dead girl had been to avert his eyes. They'd happened on the gun barrel purely by accident. But maybe I would have known there had to be a gun. He even saw where it had been, a wall-mounted clip between the built-in TV and the industrial-sized can opener. They were gadget nuts as well as gun nuts, Tom had said, and a wall-mounted pistol in your kitchen just waiting to leap into your hand. Why, if that wasn't the best of both worlds, what was? Clay? That was Alice, coming from a distance. What? There followed the sound of feet quickly ascending a set of stairs, then Alice called from the living room. Tom said you wanted to know if we hit pay dirt. We just did. There must be a dozen guns downstairs in the den, rifles and pistols and both. They're in a cabinet with an alarm company sticker on it, so we'll probably get arrested. That's a joke. Are you coming? In a minute, hon. Don't come out here. Don't worry. Don't you stay there and get grossed out. It was beyond grossed out, far beyond. There were two other objects lying on the bloody hardwood floor of Nicholson's kitchen. One was the rolling pin, which made sense. There was a pie tin, a mixing bowl, and cherry yellow canister marked flour sitting on the center island. The other object on the floor was one lying not too distant from one of Heidi Nickerson's hands. As a cell phone only teenager could love, blue with big orange daisy decals plastered all over it. Clay could see what had happened, little as he wanted to. Beth Nickerson is making a pie. Does she know something awful has started to happen in Greater Boston, in America, maybe in the world? Is it on TV? If so, the TV didn't send her a crazygram. Clay was sure of that. Her daughter got one, though, oh yes, and Heidi attacked her mother. Did Beth Nickerson try to reason with her daughter before driving her to the floor with a blow from the rolling pin, or did she just strike? Not in hate, but in pain and fear. In any case, it wasn't enough, and Beth wasn't wearing pants. She was wearing a jumper, and her legs were bare. Clay pulled down the dead woman's skirt. He did it gently, covering the plain working at-home underwear that she had soiled at the end. Heidi, surely no longer older than 14, and perhaps only 12, must have been growling in that savage nonsense language that they seemed to learn all at once, after they got a full dose of saying "be gone" from their phones, saying things like "rest" and "can." First blow from the rolling pin had knocked her down, but not out, and the mad girl had begun to work on her mother's legs. Not little nips either, but deep, searing bites, some that had driven all the way to the bone. Clay could see not only tooth marks, but ghostly tattoos that must have been left by young Heidi's braces. And so, probably screaming undoubtedly in agony, almost certainly not aware of what she was doing, Beth Nickerson had struck again, this time much harder. Clay could almost hear the muffled crack as the girl's neck broke. Beloved daughter dead on the floor of the state-of-the-art kitchen with braces on her teeth and her state-of-the-art cell phone by one outstretched hand. And had her mother stopped to consider before popping the gun from its clip between the TV and the can opener, where it had been waiting who knew how long for a burglar or rapist to appear in this clean, well-lit kitchen? Clay thought not. Clay thought there would have been no pause, that she would have wanted to catch up with her daughter's fleeing soul while the explanation for what she had done was still fresh on her lips. Clay went to the gun and picked it up. From a gadget boy like Arnie Nickerson, he would have expected an automatic, maybe even one with a laser sight, but this was a plain old Colt .45 revolver. He supposed it made sense. His wife might feel more comfortable with this kind of gun. No nonsense about making sure it was loaded if the gun was needed, or wasting time fishing a clip out from behind the spatulas or spices if it wasn't. Then racking the slide to make sure there was a hot one in the chamber. No, with this old war, you just had to swing the barrel out, which Clay did with ease. He'd drawn 1,000 varieties of this very gun for Dark Wanderer. As he expected, only one of the 6 chambers was empty. He shook out one of the other loads, knowing just what he would find. Beth Nickerson's .45 was loaded with highly illegal cop-killer bullets, fraggers. No wonder the top of her head was gone. The wonder was that she had any left at all. She looked down at the remains of the woman leaning in the corner and began to cry. Clay, that was Tom coming up the stairs from the basement. Man, Arnie had everything. There's an automatic weapon that would have gotten him a stretch and wall bolt. I bet. Clay, are you alright? I'm coming, Clay said, wiping his eyes. He safetied the revolver and stuck it in his belt. Then he took off a knife and laid it on Beth Nickerson's counter, still in its homemade scabbard. It seemed they were trading up. Give me 2 more minutes. Personally, I would have kept the knife because you only have so many bullets. Yo! Clay heard Tom clumping back to Arnie Nickerson's downstairs armory and smiled in spite of the tears still running down his face. Here's something you would have to remember. Give a nice little gay guy from Malden a room full of guns to play with. He starts to say, yo, just like Sylvester Stallone. Yo, Adrian! Clay started going through the drawers. In the third one he tried, he found a heavy red box marked American Defender 45 caliber. American Defender 50 rounds. It was under the dish towels. He put the box in his pocket and went to join Tom and Alice. He wanted to get out of here now and as quickly as possible. The trick would be getting them to go without trying to take Arnie Nickerson's entire gun collection along. Halfway through the arch, he paused and glanced back, holding the Coleman lantern high, looking at the bodies. Pulling down the skirt of the woman's jumper hadn't helped much. They were still just corpses, their wounds as naked as Noah when his son had come upon him in liquor. He could find something to cover them with, but once he started covering bodies, where would it end? Where? With Sharon? With his son? God forbid, he whispered, but he doubted that God would simply because he asked. He lowered the lantern and followed the dancing glow of flashlights downstairs to Tom and Alice. 21. They both wore belts with large caliber handguns in the holsters, and these were automatics. Tom had also slung an ammunition bandolier over his shoulder. Clay didn't know whether to laugh or start crying again. Part of him felt like doing both at the same time. Of course he did that. They would think he was having hysterics, and of course they would be right. The plasma TV mounted on the wall down here was the big, very big brother of the one in the kitchen. Another TV, only slightly smaller, had a multi-brand video game hookup Clay would, once upon a time, have loved to examine. To fawn over, maybe. Also, if to balance it off, a vintage Searberg jukebox stood in the corner next to the Nickerson's king pong table. All its fabulous colors dark and dead. And of course, there were the gun cabinets, 2 of them, still locked but with their glass front broken. There were locking bars, but he had a toolbox in his garage, Tom said. Also, he used a wrench to break them off. They were cookies, Alice said modestly. This was in the garage behind the toolbox, wrapped in a piece of blanket. Is it what I think it is? She picked it up off the ping pong table, holding it carefully by the wire stalk and carried it over to Clay. Holy shit, he said. This is... He squinted at the embossing above the trigger guard. I think it's Russian? I'm sure it is, Tom said. Do you think it's a Kalashnikov? You got me. Are there bullets that match it? And boxes that match printing on the gun, I mean? Half a dozen. Heavy boxes. It's a machine gun, isn't it? You might as well call it that, I guess. Cliff flicked a lever. I'm pretty sure one of these positions is single shot and the other is auto fire. How many rounds does it fire a minute? Alice asked. I don't know, Clay said, but I think it's rounds per second? Whoa! Her eyes got round. Can you figure out how to shoot it? Alice, I'm pretty sure they teach 16-year-old farm boys how to shoot these. Yes, I can figure it out. It might take a box of ammo, but I can figure it out. Please, God, don't let it blow up in my hands, he thought. Is something like that legal in Massachusetts? she asked. It is now, Tom said, not smiling. Is it time to go? Yes, she said, and then, perhaps still not entirely comfortable being the one to make the decisions, she looked at Clay. Yes, he said. North. Fine with me, Alice said. Yeah, Tom said. North. Let's do it. Gayton Academy. So I guess the chapters are named. That's what I'm picking up. The first one was The Pulse. The second one was, I just stopped and I was flipping through here, Malden. Now we have Gayton Academy. 1. When rainy daylight arose the next morning, Clay, Alice, and Tom were camped in the barn adjacent to an abandoned horse farm in North Riddick. They watched from the doors the first groups of crazy folk began to appear, flocking southwest on Route 62 in the direction of Wilmington. Their clothes looked uniformly soaked and shabby. Some were without shoes. By noon, they were gone. Around 4, as the sun broke through the clouds in long, smoking rays, they began flocking back in the direction from which they had come. Many were munching as they walked. Some were helping those who were having a hard time walking on their own. If there were acts of murder today, Clay, Tom, and Alice did not see any. Perhaps half a dozen of the crazies were lugging large objects that looked familiar to Clay. Alice had found one in the closet of Tom's guest bedroom. The 3 of them had stood around it, afraid to turn it on. Clay? Alice asked. Why are some of them carrying boom boxes? I don't know, he said. I don't like it, Tom said. I don't like the flocking behavior. I don't like them helping each other, and I like seeing them with those big portable sound systems, least of all. There's only a few with... Clay began. Check her out, right there, Tom interrupted, pointing to a middle-aged woman who was staggering up Highway 62 with a radio CD player the size of a living room hassock cradled in her arms. She held it against her breast as though it were a sleeping toddler. Its power cord had come out of the little storage compartment in back and dragged beside her on the road. And you don't see any of them carrying lamps or toasters, do you? What if they're programmed to set up battery-powered radios? Turn them on and start broadcasting that tone, pulse, subliminal message, whatever it is. What if they want to get the ones they missed the first time? They? The ever-popular paranoid they. Alice had produced her little sneaker from somewhere and was squeezing it in her hand, but when she spoke, her voice was calm enough. I don't think that's it, she said. Why not? Tom asked. She shook her head. I can't say, it just doesn't feel right. Woman's intuition. He was smiling, but he wasn't sneering. Maybe, she said, but I think one thing's obvious. What's that, Alice? Clay asked. He had an idea what she was going to say, and he was right. They're getting smarter. Not on their own, but because they're thinking together. Probably that sounds crazy, but I think it's more likely than them collecting a big pile of battery-powered FM suitcases to blast us all into Lunaland. Telepathic groupthink? Tom said. He mulled it over. Alice watched him do it. Clay, who had already decided she was right, looked out the barn door at the last of the day. He was thinking they needed to stop somewhere and pick up a road atlas. That is one thing I've been looking for, and I saw one at the thrift store. I had to go back to my car to get my wallet, and by the time I came back in, some other guy had picked it up. I didn't have my wallet because I was volunteering at the Humane Society, but that's one thing I really, really want for whatever the heck is going to happen. A road atlas, because we won't have maps on the phone, we won't have anything like that. We can't use the internet anymore. I think, I propose, but I could be wrong. But if you can, get your hands on an atlas. And if you want to send me one, you can send it to P.O. Box 663, Bayfield, Bayfield, Colorado, 81122. But yeah, last time I had one, I believe I was 16 or 17. I'm going to say 17. Hey, why not? After all, that's probably what flogging is. Telepathic group thinking. Do you really think so, or are you just saying that to make me? I really think so, he said. He reached out and touched her hand, which was now squeezing the little sneaker rapidly. I really, really do. Give that thing a rest, will you? She gave him a fleeting, distracted smile. Clay saw it and thought again how beautiful she was, how really beautiful, and how close to breaking. The hay looks soft and I'm tired. I think I'll take a nice long nap. Get down with your bad self, Clay said. 2. Clay dreamed that he and Sharon and Johnny G were having a picnic behind their little house in Kent Pond. Sharon had spread her Navajo blanket on the grass. They were having sandwiches and iced tea. Suddenly, the day went dark. Sharon pointed over Clay's shoulder and said, "Look, telepaths." But when he turned that way, he saw nothing but a flock of crows, one so huge it blotted out the sun. Then a tinkling began. It sounded like the Mr. Sophie truck playing the Sesame Street theme song, but he knew it was a ringtone, and in his dream he was terrified. He turned back to Johnny G, and Johnny G was gone. When he asked Sharon where he was, already knowing the answer, she said Johnny had gone under the blanket to answer his cell phone. There was a bump in the blanket. Clay dove under into that overpowering smell of sweet hay, shouting for Johnny not to pick it up, not to answer, reaching for him, and finding instead only the cold curve of a glass ball. The paperweight he'd bought in Small Treasures, the one with a haze of dandelion fluff floating deep down inside like a pocket of fog. Then Tom was shaking him, telling him it was past 9 by his watch, and the moon was up, and if they were going to do some more walking, they ought to get it done. Get her done. Clay had never been so glad to wake up. On the whole, he preferred dreams of the bingo tent. Alice was looking at him oddly. "What?" Clay said, checking to make sure their automatic weapon was safetied. That was already becoming second nature to him. "You were talking in your sleep. You were saying, 'Don't answer it! Don't answer it!'" "Nobody should have answered it," Clay said. "We all would have been better off." "Ah, but who can resist the ringing phone?" Tom asked. "And there goes your ball game." "Thus spake a fucking Zarathustra," Clay said. Alice laughed until she cried. 3. With the moon racing in and out of the clouds like an illustration in a boy's novel of pirates and buried treasure, Clay thought they left the horse farm behind and resumed their walk north. That night they began to meet others of their own kind again. Because this is our time now, Clay thought, shifting the automatic rifle from one hand to the other, fully loaded. It was damned heavy. The phone crazies own the days. When the stars come out, that's us. We're like vampires. We've been banished to the night. Up close, we know each other because we can still talk. At a little distance, we can be pretty sure of each other by the packs we wear and the guns more and more of us carry. But at a distance, the one sure thing is the waving flashlight beam. 3 days ago, we not only ruled the earth, we had survivors. Guilt about all the other species we wiped out on our climb to the nirvana of round-the-clock cable news and microwave popcorn. Now, we are the flashlight people. He looked over at Tom. "Where do they go?" he asked. "Where do the crazies go after sundown?" The That's creepy to think about. Tom gave him a look. North Pole? All the elves died of mad reindeer disease, and these guys are helping out until the new crop shows up. Jesus, Clay said. Did someone get up on the wrong side of the haystack tonight? But Tom still wouldn't smile. I'm thinking about my cat, he said, wondering if he's alright. No doubt you think that's quite stupid. No, Clay said, although having a son and a wife to worry about, he sort of did. 4. They got a road atlas in a card and bookshop in the 2-spotlight burg of Ballard Vale. They were now traveling north and very glad they had decided to stay in the more or less colic V between Interstates 93 and 95. The other travelers they met, most moving west, away from I-95, told of horrendous traffic jams and terrible wrecks. One of the few pilgrims who was moving east said that a tanker had crashed near the Wakefield exit of I-93, and the resulting fire had caused a chain explosion that had incinerated nearly a mile of northbound traffic. The stench, he said, was like a fish fry in hell. They met more flashlight people as they trudged through the outskirts of Andover and heard a rumor so persistent it was now repeated with the assurance of fact. The New Hampshire border was closed. New Hampshire State Police and special deputies were shooting first and asking questions afterward. It didn't matter to them whether you were crazy or sane. It's just a new version of the fucking motto they've had in their fucking license plates since forever, said a bitter-faced elderly man with whom they walked for a while. He was wearing a small pack over his expensive topcoat and carrying a long-barreled flashlight. Poking out of his topcoat pocket was the butt of a handgun. If you're in New Hampshire, you can live free. If you want to come to New Hampshire, you can fucking die. That's just really hard to believe, Alice said. Believe what you want, Missy, said their temporary companion. I met some people who try to go north like you folks, and they turned back south in a hurry when they saw some people shot out of hand trying to cross into New Hampshire north of Dunstable. When? Clay asked. Last night. Clay thought of several other questions, but held his tongue instead. At Andover, the big-faced man and his other friends, with whom they had been sharing their vehicle-clogged but passable route, turned onto Highway 133, toward Lowell and points west. Clay, Tom, and Alice were left on Andover's Main Street, deserted except for a few flashlight-waving foragers, with a decision to make. Do you believe it? Clay asked Alice. No, she said, and looked at Tom. Tom shook his head. Me either. I thought the guy's story had an alligators in the sewers feel to it. Alice was nodding. News doesn't travel fast anymore, not without phones. Yep, Tom said. Definitely the next generation urban myth. Still, we are talking about what a friend of mine likes to call New Hampshire. Which is why I think we should cross the border at the most out-of-the-way spot we can find. Sounds like a plan, Alice said, and with that they moved on again, using the sidewalk as long as they were in town and there was a sidewalk to use. On the outskirts of Andover, a man with a pair of flashlights rigged in a kind of harness, one light at each temple, stepped out through the broken display window of the IGA. He waved to them in companionable fashion, then picked a course toward them between a jump of shopping carts, dropping canned goods into what looked like a newsboy's pouch as he walked. He stopped beside a pickup truck lying on its side, introduced himself as Mr. Rocco Methuen, and asked where they were going. Then Clay told them the name. Hand shook his head. New Hampshire border's close. I met 2 people not half an hour ago who got turned back, he said, and they're trying to tell the difference between the phone crazies and people like us, but they're not trying too hard. Did these 2 people actually see this with their own eyes? Tom asked. Roscoe Hant looked at Tom as though he might be crazy. You gotta trust the word of others, man, he said. I mean, you can't exactly phone someone up and ask for verification, can you? He paused. They're burning the bodies at Salem and Nashua. That's what else folks told me. And it smells like a pit roast. They told me that too. I've got a party at 5. I'm taking west, and we want to make some miles before sunup. The way west is open. Is that the word you're hearing, is it? Clay asked. Hant looked at him with mild contempt. That's the word, all right, and a word to the wise is sufficient. My ma used to say, and if you really mean to go north, make sure you get to the border in the middle of the night. Crazies don't go out after dark. We know, Tom said. The man with the flashlights affixed to the sides of his head ignored Tom and went on talking to Clay. He had Clay as the trio's leader. And they don't carry flashlights, wave your flashlights back and forth, talk, yell. They don't do those things either. I doubt the people at the border will let you through, but if you're lucky, they won't shoot you either. They're getting smarter, Alice said. You know that, don't you, Mr. Hant? Hant snorted. They're traveling bats and they're not killing each other anymore. I don't know if that makes them smarter or not, but they're still killing us. I know that. Hant must have seen doubt in Clay's face because he smiled. His flashlights turned it into something unpleasant. I saw them catch a woman out this morning, he said, with my own eyes, okay? Clay nodded. Okay. I think I know why she's on the street. This is in Topsfield, about 10 miles east of here. Me and my people, we were in a Motel 6. We was walking that way, only not really walking, hurrying, almost running. Looking back over her shoulder, I saw her because I couldn't sleep. He shook his head. Getting used to his sleeping days is a bitch. I thought of telling Hannah they'd all get used to it, then didn't. He saw Alice was holding her talisman again. He didn't want Alice hearing this and knew there was no way to keep it from her. Partly because it was reliable information and unlike the stuff about New Hampshire state. He was almost positive this was solid information. Partly because the world was going to be full of stories like this for a while. If they listened to enough of them, some might eventually begin to line up and make patterns. Probably just looked for a better place to stay, you know, no more than that. Saw the Motel 6 and thought, hey, a room with a bed, right up there by the Exxon station, only a block away, but before she got even halfway, a bunch of them came around the corner. They were walking, you know, how they walk now. Roscoe Hant walked toward them stiffly, like a tin soldier with his newsboy back swinging. That wasn't how the phone crazies walked, but they knew what he was trying to convey and nodded. And he leaned back against the overturned truck and scrubbed briefly at his face with his hands. This is what I want you to understand, okay? This is why you can't get caught out. Can't get fooled that they're getting normal because every now and then one or two of them has lucked to hit the right controls on a boombox and started a CD playing. You've seen that? Tom asked. Heard that? Yeah, twice. Second guy saw was walking along, swinging the thing from side to side so hard his arm that it was skipping like hell, but yeah, it was playing, so they like music, and sure, they might be retrieving some of their marbles, but that's exactly why you have to be careful, see? What happened to the woman? Alice asked. The one who got caught out. She tried to act like one of them, and I thought, standing there at the window of the room, where I was, I thought, Yeah, you can vote for Paul. He might have a chance if you can. If you can hang on to that a little while and then make a break, get inside somewhere because they don't like to go inside places. Have you noticed that? Clay, Tom, and Alice shook their heads. The man nodded. They will. I've seen them do it, but they don't like to. How did they get her, get onto her? Alice asked again. I don't exactly know. They smelled her or something. Or maybe he touched her thoughts, Tom said. Or couldn't touch them. I don't know about any of that, Aunt said. But I know they tore her apart in the street. I mean, literally tore her to pieces. And this happened when? Clay asked. He saw Alice was swaying and put an arm around her. 9 this morning in Topsfield, so if you see a bunch of them walking up the yellow brick road with a boombox that's playing, why can't we be friends? He surveyed them grimly by the glow of the flashlight strapped to the sides of his head. I wouldn't go running out yelling, "Hey!" That's all. He paused, and I wouldn't go north either. Even if they don't shoot you at the border, it's a waste of time, but after a little consultation at the edge of the IGA parking lot, they went north anyway. Well, on that note, boys and girls, we are going to our first music break where we have King Cinnamon from Biafra, Nigeria, with Fantastic and Ala Imo Edarella. And then we have Mr. Hosley Bronx, who is originally from Jamaica, but also lives in the Bronx of New York. And he's going to be singing Dance as a Lion. Don't go anywhere, but we'll be right back after this music break.
We swap on the
Like no water, bam bam. King Cinnamon. Oh shit, baddest. Take your bam bam anywhere you day. Play your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Take your bam bam anywhere you day. Play your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Gucci brother, baby, gather something. Come on closer, baby, gather 19. I know you better, but I am the king. Your backside bigger than Bombay. Baby girl, broncotum. I like the way you want your broncotum. Baby girl, broncotum. I like the way you want your broncotum. Jamaica, Ghana, shout out to the ladies in Asia, Nigeria, South Africa. Say me love you. Please me, baby. Yeah. Turn up from you. Yeah. Take your bam bam anywhere you day. Play your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Shake your bam bam anywhere you day. Play your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Give me love, give me love. Show me love, show me love. Oh, give me love, give me love. Me want you, me love you. Give me love, give me love. Oh, give me love, give me love. Hey, please me, baby. Oh. Yeah, turn up from you. Yeah, take your bam bam anywhere you day. Play your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Shake your bam bam anywhere you day. Play your your bamba, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it's a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will say. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. King Cinema. You know what I'm saying?
We spot on the mix. Lift it up. swap on the beat.
Ka anyị kelee Chineke makwa n'ala Imo bụ ndị njem ọnụ. Ka anyị kelee onye nwe ụwa ịmakwa n'ala Imo bụ ndị njem ọnụ. Imo, Alime Kerelo, Alimo, Alime Kerelo, Alimo State, Alime Kerelo, Alimo, Alime Kerelo, Alimo State, Alime Kerelo, Alimo, Alime Kerelo, Democracy Merielo, Ndime Merielo, Alimo, Alime Kerelo, Alimo, Alime Kerelo, Alimo State, Alime Kerelo, Alimo, Alime Kerelo, Democracy Merielo. Ndime Meriela, Emeka Marama, Ebere Marama, Ovana Marama, Yes Lady Marama, Her Excellency, Emeka Edio Hama, Emeka Edio Hama, Omenka Unanya Nidio Hama, Omenka Unanya Wa, Emeka Meki Modima, Emeka Meki Modima. Emeka put on no boy, oh yeah. Wa wulenu, Emeka put on no boy. Welcome Adima. We me wan posto. Emeka make him modima. Emeka make him modima. Ndem jejemba, mwan jejemba. Ndem jemano, deputy governor Imo State Chilike. Gerard Ronna Karaka. Wokomadima Porabo, Deputy Governor Wile Teregima, Alukuta Teregima, Alimo State Teregima, Ala Nigeria Maragima, Onye Jemonu, Stanley Wamuche Karaka, Stanley Onye Babamba, President Good Life Foundation Shirike, President General, Senate Group of Companies, President General, Financial Master Karaka. Allo were Teregima, Alambise Teregima, Alimo State Teregima, Ala Nigeria Maragima, Onye Jemano, Franklin Nage Shirike, Pepe Arabido Hotels, ABC Transport Karaka, Allo were Teregima, Alambise Teregima, Alimo State Teregima, Ala Nigeria Maragima, Uchonyago Chande. Uchonyago Chande, Honorable Mokomadima, Onye Horo Nyakeleni Yao, Mawugi, Ginando Tugio, Mawunule, Mjigari Chinala, Imo State, Mawugi, Ginando Tugio, Mawunule, Minigari Zonala, Imo State, Allo were Teregima, Allo were Teregima. Alimo State Teregima, Ala Nigeria Maragima, the German, Orange Trucks Limited, Jisa Anthony Ifani Chukun, the business and Ishirike, Ikenga the Chele, pride of his people, most outstanding one, Okoma Marama, Iborabo, Allo were Teregima, Alija Teregima, Alimo State Teregima, Ala Nigeria Maragima, Honorable Jogwagu Shirike, Honorable Bina Shirike, Jere Labosa Shirike, Kochukwo Kereke Shirike, Okahu Be Shirike, Injina Benina Shirike, Onyamana Construction, Wokomadima Ikaraka, Onye Shiwole Heborani, Dejemu Imarama, Wokomande Jembo, Wokomadima Ikaraka, Wiz Popule, Ibo Felamo, Onyamana Pito, Akana Kompa, Ikaraka, Eziwa Mama, Mr. Ludiriwa, Wokome Jemba, CEO Lisabe Ventures, Ikaraka, Democracy Merielo, Ndime Merielo. Thank God I'm from Imo State. Emeka has come to rejuvenate Imo State. Make you jubilate, make you celebrate. Emeka Shikwen be say, this one no be say them say, Emeka has come to rejuvenate, Imo State, celebrate, make we jubilate. Ala mekele His Excellency, Achikudenwa, mekele kwa His Excellency Dr. Hakim. Yemaka Right Honorable BDK, mekele kwa Right Honorable Jones Oyereri. Ala mekele Senator Onyebuchi Mr. Empowerment. Mekele kwa Right Honorable Emeka Chinedu. Umo mimo lowali bia meziena Alima de lama.
Cliffito.
Welcome back. Man, this whole thing in Texas is insane. I kind of feel like reading this article to you guys because I don't think it's too long, but even if I read the first part, that's insane. Could you imagine a 20-foot wall of fire rushing several miles toward you? Well, this happened down the Guadalupe River, leading to the deaths of nearly 80 people in at least 5 counties: Kerr, Burnett, Travis, Kendall, and Tom Green. Kerrville, Texas. A catastrophic and deadly flooding disaster devastated portions of central Texas over the past few days. More rain is in the forecast that will not only raise fears of additional flooding in Texas, but it could impact search and rescue operations across the region. Torrential rain led to multiple flash flood emergencies across south central Texas starting on the 4th of July, with forecasters issuing dire warnings of a deadly flood wave rushing down Texas' Guadalupe River. And from what I heard, like people with TV and stuff like that, were hearing about this. Maybe people that were camping along the river, whether it be in their RVs, their trailers, or their tents, unless the station they're listening to advised them of such, knew nothing of what was about to happen. And there was one lady that owned a camp spot or RV park or whatever. She went down to the river to check, and she was like, well, everything looks fine. And then she went back and was on the phone with, I believe, the fire department, but I'm not sure. Then the water's just, like they said, 20-foot wall of water came and washed a lot of stuff out. They were trying to save a family. I believe it was a 5, it could have been 4. But one of the people on shore was saying, hey, throw us your baby, because they were out on an island. I guess part of the park was on an island, so they probably felt like, oh yeah, we got the island, like, we're set. And then this happens. But before anybody could be handed over, whether it be baby or the like, they were gone, just swept away. So the 20-foot wall of water rushed several miles downstream, leading to the death of at least 79 people in at least 6 counties. Among the dead were at least 28 children, many of whom were young girls at a summer camp, and sleeping when the disaster began to unfold. And that's crazy too, because I saw the pictures of, it might have been one of the cabins. It definitely wasn't all of them, but this one, like, none of the mattress were moved or anything. I'm like, well, that doesn't seem too bad. But then when you see the, hall where they have their lunches and stuff like that, all the plates were washed out, and they were just like right there in front of the building. I'm sure a lot of stuff washed away, but it's weird how things deposit and stuff. But last I heard, I think there's 11 girls that still need to be reunited with their family. And like I said before, we don't know if they were reunited alive or otherwise. Now, as hundreds of people continue their desperate search for survivors, a new flash flood threat has emerged. There is still that potential for floods later on Sunday, which is right now. Fox weather meteorologist Vane Fromey said, Areas need to be prepared and need to make sure that they are also watching the skies, staying weather aware throughout the rest of the day Sunday, as isolated showers and storms continue. Frowning has been on the ground in Kerr County since shortly after the deadly flooding disaster began to unfold in Texas, and has been warning of the potential of more rain and flooding as the weekend comes to an end. So, the Weather Prediction Center said that there could be times when the rain rate is 2 to 4 inches per hour, she said. That's heavy, heavy rainfall, so just be incredibly careful and just take these warnings and watches seriously. NOAA's Weather Prediction Center, WPC, has placed a large portion of South Central Texas on a level 1 out of 5. What? So is level 1 like the highest and level 5 is the lowest? Because with tornadoes, it's opposite. Flash flood threat on Sunday. However, many communities impacted by flooding over the weekend have been placed on a level 2 out of 4 flash flood threat. I would not even listen to the levels because they do not know. And just evacuate. Get out of harm's way if you can. We're going to keep you updated and continue to monitor the situation here on the ground in Kerrville, as well as throughout Kerr County, and also throughout the state of SSTs, but Texas over the next day or so, Frody said. Fox Forecast Center said that the threat of torrential rain and thunderstorms will continue until at least Monday. In addition, river and lake flooding will also continue through the next several days. For example, the Fox Forecast Center said that Guadalupe River in Bloomington, Texas, more than 200 miles downstream from the river in Hunt, Texas, is not forecast to reach minor flood stage until Wednesday. So, yeah, get out of harm's way. And I was looking at the map, that's how I got to this in the first place, and basically, smack dab in the heart of Texas. We got Graham, we got Dallas, we got Abilene, we have Hiko, we have San Angelo, Killeen, Sonora, Kerrville, and San Antonio is down lower from that. But do you guys remember all the flooding going on in China, then in Italy, and in Greece, and all these different places? It's everywhere. And they say it's from us and global warming and stuff like that, but it's a cycle of the earth and the way the earth turns and does this and does that, and yeah, there's really nothing you can do about it. I mean, sure, cut down on the fossil fuels and stuff, but just be safe, be careful, and those of you that aren't there, please send love and light and positive energy, and that would be great. 6. They paused near North Andover, standing on a pedestrian overpass above Route 495. The clouds were thickening again, but the moon broke through long enough to show them 6 lanes of silent traffic. Near the bridge where they stood in the southbound lanes, an overturned 16-wheeler lay like a dead elephant. Orange pylons had been set up around it, showing that someone had made at least a token response, and there were 2 abandoned police cruisers beyond them, one on its side. The rear half of the truck had been burned black, and there was no sign of bodies, not in the momentary moonlight. A few people labored westward in Breakdown Lane, but it was slow going even there. Kinda makes it all real, doesn't it? Tom said. No, Alice said. She sounded indifferent. To me, it looks like a special effect in some big summer movie, but a bucket of popcorn and a Coke and watch the end of the world in, what do they call it, computer graphic imaging, CGI? Blue screen, some fucking thing. She held up the little sneaker by one lace. This is all I need to make it real, something small enough to hold in my hand. Come on, let's go. 7. There were plenty of abandoned vehicles on Highway 28, but it was wide open compared to 495, and by 4 o'clock, they were nearing Methuen, hometown of Mr. Roscoe Hent, he of the stereo flashlights, and they believed enough in Hent's story to want to be undercover well before daylight. They chose a motel at the intersection of 28 and 110. A dozen or so cars were parked in front of the various units, but to Clay, they had an abandoned feel, and why wouldn't they? The two roads were passable, but only if you were on foot, because I guess the vehicles making noise can cause issues, I don't know. Clay and Tom stood at the edge of the parking lot, waving their flashlights over their heads. "Okay," Tom called. "Normal folks, coming in." They waited. There was no response for what the sign identified as the Sweet Valley Inn. Heated pool, HBO, group rates. What I like to call Wi-Fi, but it's actually Wi-Fi. But to me it's funny to say Wi-Fi. "Come on," Alice said. "My feet hurt and it'll be getting white soon, won't it?" "Look at this," Clay said. He picked up a CD from the motel's turn-in and shone the beam of his flashlight on it. It was Love Songs by Michael Bolton. Oh, Bolt. That is like the greatest CD in the early 90s. I loved Michael Bolton. Whatever happened to that guy? I do not know. I cannot tell you right now. But that was a good CD, I gotta say. I'm trying to think. That's a pretty chill one. The only other one that I would use is the same one I used for my first daughter's birth, and that was in 99. Sade. Is that what they call her? Okay, so the way I said it was not quite correct, but I found it here. And I could do the beginning of the song. Oh my. Not in the compromise, cause I'm not gonna be much of this. No? Well, I don't even see it registering on the microphone, but yeah, I try to play it for you guys. So if you can't hear it, we'll post it anyways on We Are Paradox News Facebook page. Maybe Four Corners Paranormal Investigations, as well as my very own Facebook page. "And you said they were getting smarter," Tom said. "Don't be so quick to judge," Clay said as they started toward units. "Whoever had it threw it away, right?" "More likely you just dropped it," Tom said. Alice shone her own light on the CD. "Who is this guy?" "Honey Bunch," Tom said. "You don't want to know." He took the CD and tossed it back over his shoulder. What? They forced the doors on 3 adjoining units as gently as possible so they could at least shoot the bolt once they were inside, and with the beds to sleep in, they slept most of the day away. They were not disturbed, although that evening Alice said she thought she had heard music coming from far away, but she admitted it might have been part of a dream she was having. 8. There were maps for sale in the lobby of the Sweet Valley Inn that would offer more detail than the road atlas. They were in a glass display cabinet that had been smashed. Clay took one for Massachusetts and one for New Hampshire. Reaching in carefully as not to get cut on his hand, saw a young man lying on the other side of the reception counter as he did so. His eyes glared sightlessly for a moment. Clay thought someone had put an oddly colored corsage in the corpse's mouth. Then he saw the greenish points poking out through the dead man's cheeks, and realized they matched the broken glass littering the shelves of the display cabinet. The corpse was wearing a name tag that said, "My name is Hank. Ask me about weekly rates." Clay thought briefly of Mr. Riccardi as he looked at Hank. Tom and Alice were waiting for him just inside the lobby door. It was 9:15, and outside it was full dark. "How do you do?" Alice asked. "These may help," he said. He gave her the maps, then lifted the Coleman lantern so she and Tom could study them, compare them against the road atlas, and plot the night's travel. He was trying to cultivate a sense of fatalism about Johnny and Sharon, trying to keep the bold truth of his current family situation front and center in his mind. What had happened in Kent Pond had happened. His son and his wife were either all right or they weren't. He would either find them or he wouldn't. His success at this sort of semi-magical thinking came and went. When it started slipping, he told himself he was lucky to be alive. And this was certainly true. What balanced his luck out was that he'd been in Boston 100 miles south of Kent Pond by even the quickest route, which they were definitely not taking when the both happened. And yet, he'd fallen in with good people. There was that. People he could think of as friends. He'd seen plenty of others. Beer cake guy and some Bible-toting lady, as well as Mr. Roscoe Hant of Matine, who weren't as lucky. If he got to you, share. If Johnny got to you, you better be taking care of him. You just better be. But suppose he'd had his phone. Suppose he'd taken the red cell phone to school. Might he not have taken it a little more often lately? Because so many of the other kids took theirs. Christ. "Clay, you alright?" Tom asked. "Sure, why?" "I don't know, you look a little grim." "Dead guy behind the counter, he's not pretty." "Look here," Alice said, tracing a thread on the map. It squiggled across the state line and then appeared to join New Hampshire Route 38, a little east of Pelham. "That looks pretty good to me," she said. "If we go west on the highway out there for 8 or 9 miles, she pointed at 110, where both the cars and the tar were gleaming faintly in a mist drizzle. "We can hit it. What do you think?" "I think that sounds good," Tom said. She looked from him to Clay. The little sneaker was put away, probably in her backpack, but Clay could see her wanting to squeeze it. He supposed it was good she wasn't a smoker. She'd be up to 4 packs a day at this point. "If they's got the way across guarded," she began. "Well, sorry about that if we have to," Clay said, but he wasn't worrying. One way or another, he was getting to Maine. If it meant crawling through some pucker bush, like an illegal crossing the Canadian border to pick apples in October, he would do it. If Tom and Alice decided to stay behind, that would be too bad. He'd be sorry to leave them, but he would go because he had to know. The red squiggle Alice had found on the Sweet Valley maps had a name, Dusty Stream Road, and it was almost wide open. It was a 4-mile hike to the state line, and they came upon no more than 5 or 6 abandoned vehicles, and only a single wreck. They also passed 2 houses where they could see lights and hear the roar of generators. They considered stopping at these, but not for long. "We'd probably get into a firefight with some guy defending this hearth and home," they said. "Always assuming there's anyone there, those generators were probably set to come on when the county juice fails, and they'll run until they get out of gas. Even if there are sane people and they let us in, which would hardly be a sane act, what are we going to do?" Tom said. "Ask to use the phone?" They discussed stopping somewhere and trying to liberate a vehicle. Liberate was Tom's word, but in the end decided against that too. If the state line was being defended by deputies or vigilantes, driving up to it in Chevy Tahoe might not be the smoothest move. So they walked, and of course there was nothing at the state line but a billboard, a small one, as befitted a two-lane blacktop road winding through farm country, reading, "You are now entering New Hampshire," and "Bienvenue." There was no sound but the drip of moisture in the woods on either side of them, and an occasional sigh of breeze. Maybe the rustle of an animal. They stopped briefly to read the sign and then walked on, leaving Massachusetts behind. 9. Any sense of being alone ended along with the Dosty Stream Road at a sign point reading NH Route 38 and Manchester 19 miles. There were still only a few travelers on 38, but when they switched to 28, a wide, red-lettered road that headed almost due north, half an hour later, that trickle became part of a steady stream of refugees. They traveled mostly in little groups of 3 and 4, and with that struck Clay as a rather shabby lack of interest in anyone other than themselves. They encountered a woman of about 40 and a man maybe 20 years old pushing shopping carts, each containing a child. The one in the man's cart was a boy, and too big for the conveyance, but he had found a way to curl up inside and fall asleep. While Clay and his party were passing this jackleg family, a wheel came off the man's shopping cart. It tipped sideways, spilling out the boy, who looked about 17. Tom caught him by the shoulder and broke the worst of the kid's fall, but he scraped one knee. Oh no! And of course he was frightened. Tom picked him up, but the boy didn't know him and struggled to get away, crying harder than ever. "That's okay. Thanks, I've got him," the man said. He took the child and sat down on the side of the road with him, where he had much of what he called the boo-boo, a term that Clay didn't think he'd heard since he was 7. Oh no, do you have a boo-boo? Oh. The man said, "Gregory, kiss it. Make it all better." He kissed the child's scrape, and the boy laid his head against the man's shoulder. Didn't they just say he was 17? What? He was already going to sleep again. Gregory smiled at Tom and Clay and nodded. He looked weary, almost to death. A man who might have been a trim and novelist turned 60 last week and now looked like a 75-year-old Jew trying to get the hell out of Poland while there was still time. "We'll be all right," he said. "You can go now." Clay opened his mouth to say, "Why shouldn't we all go together? Why don't we hook up? What do you think, Greg?" It was the sort of thing the heroes of science fiction novels he'd read as a teenager were always saying. "Why don't we hook up?" "Huh?" "Yeah, go on. What are you waiting for?" the woman asked before he could say that or anything else. In her shopping cart, a girl of about 5 still slept. The woman stood beside the cart protectively, as if she had grabbed some fabulous sale item and was afraid Clay or one of his friends might try to wrest it from her. "You think we got something you want?" "Natalie, stop," Gregory said with tired patience. But Natalie didn't, and Clay realized what was so spiriting about this little scene. Not that he was getting his lunch, his midnight lunch, fed to him by a woman whose exhaustion and terror had led to paranoia. That was understandable and forgivable. What made his spirit sink to his shoe-tops was the way people just kept on walking, swinging their flashlights and talking low among themselves in their own groups, swapping the occasional suitcase from one hand to the other. Some yob on a pocket rocket motorbike wove his way up the road between the wrecks and over the litter, and people made way for him, muttering resentfully. Clay thought it would have been the same if the little boy had fallen out of a shopping cart and broken his neck instead of just scraping his knee. He thought it would have been the same as that heavy-set guy up there, panting along the side of the road with an overloaded duffel bag, dropped with a thunderclap, coronary. No one would ever try to resuscitate him, and, of course, the days of 911 were gone, null and void. No one ever bothered to yell, "Tell him, lady," or, "Hey dude, why don't you tell her to shut up?" They just went on walking. Because we got these kids. A responsibility we didn't ask for when we can hardly take care of ourselves. He has a pacemaker. What are we supposed to do when the battery runs out? I'd like to know. And now, these kids, you want a kid? She looked around wildly. Hey, anyone want a kid? The little girl began to stir. Natalie, you're disturbing Portia, Gregory said. The woman named Natalie began to laugh. Well, tough shit. It's a disturbing-ass world. Around them, people continued doing the refugee walk. No one paid any attention, and Clay thought, so this is how we act. This is how it goes when the bottom drops out. When there are no more cameras turning, no buildings burning, no Anderson Cooper saying, now back to CNN Studios in Atlanta. This is how it goes when Homeland Security has been canceled due to lack of sanity. Let me take the boy, Clay said. I'll carry him until you find something better to put him in. That cart's shot. He looked at Tom. Tom shrugged and nodded. Stay away from us, Natalie said, and all at once there was a gun in her hand. It wasn't a big gun, probably only a .22, but even a .22 would do the job if a bullet went in the right place. Yeah, for sure. If it's a BB gun, tisk tisk. You might lose an eye, but don't play with a .22. Clay heard the sound of guns being drawn on either side of him and knew that Tom and Alice were now pointing the pistols they'd taken from the Nickerson home at the woman named Natalie. This was also how it went, it seemed. Put it away, Natalie, he said. We're going to get moving now. You're double fucking right you are, she said, and brushed an errant lock of hair out of her eye with the hill of her free hand. She didn't seem to be aware that the young man and young woman with Clay were holding guns on her. Now people passing by did look, but their only response was to move past the spot of confrontation and potential bloodshed a little faster. Come on, Clay, Alice said quietly. She put her hand out and on his wrist, and before someone gets shot. They started walking again. Alice walked with her hand on Clay's wrist, almost as if he were her boyfriend. Just a little midnight stroll, Clay thought, although he had no idea of what time it was and really didn't care. His heart was beating hard. Tom walked with him, only until they were around the next curve he walked backward, with his gun still out. Clay supposed Tom wanted to be ready to shoot back if Natalie decided to use her little shotgun after all. Because shooting back was also how it went, now that phone service had been interrupted until further notice. 10. In the hours before dawn, walking on Route 102 east of Manchester, they began to hear music, very faint. Christ, Tom said, coming to a stop. That's Baby Elephant Walk. It's what? Alice asked. She sounded amused. A big band instrumental from the age of Corgas, Les Brown and his band of renown, something like that. My mother had the record. Two men pulled even with them and stopped for a blow. They were elderly, but both looked fit. Like a couple of recently retired postmen hiking the Cotswolds, Clay thought. Wherever they are. One wore a pack. No pussy day pack either, but the waist-length kind on a frame, and the other had a rucksack hanging from his right shoulder. On the left was what looked like a 30-30. Wiped sweat from his seamed forehead with a forearm and said, "Your mama might have had a version of Le Brown, son, but more likely it was Don Costa or Henry Mancini. Those were the popular ones, that one." He inclined his head toward the ghostly strains. "That's Lawrence Welk, as I live and breathe." Lawrence Welk, Tom breathed almost in awe. "Who?" Alice asked. "Listen to the elephant walk," Clay said and laughed. He was tired and feeling goofy. It occurred to him that Johnny would love that music. Zach gave him a glance of passing contempt, then looked back at Tom. "That's Lawrence Welk, all right," he said. "My eyes aren't half right anymore, but my ears are fine. My wife and I used to watch his show every fucking Saturday night." "Dodge had a good time, too," Rucksack said. It was his only addition to the conversation, and Clay hadn't the slightest idea what it meant. "Lawrence Welk and his champagne band," Tom said. "Think of it. Lawrence Welk and his champagne music makers," Rucksack said. "Jesus Christ!" "Don't forget the Lennon sisters and the lovely Alice Long," Tom said. In the distance, the ghostly music changed. "That one's Calcutta," Rucksack said. He sighed. "Well, we'll be getting along. Nice passing the time of the day with you." "Night," Clay said. "Nope," Rucksack said. "These hours, days now. Haven't you noticed? Have a good one, boys. You too, little man." "Thank you," the little man, standing between Clay and Tom, said faintly. Rucksack started along again. Rucksack fell sturdily in beside him. Around them, a steady parade of bobbing flashlight beams led people deeper into New Hampshire. Then Rucksack stopped and looked back for a final word. "You don't want to be on the road more than another hour," he said. "Find a house or a motel and get inside. You know about the shoes, right?" "What about the shoes?" Tom asked. Rucksack looked at him patiently, the way he'd probably looked at anyone who couldn't help being a fool. Far down the road. Calcutta, if that's what it was. I'd given way to polka. It sounded insane and foggy, drizzly night, and now this old man with the big pack on his back was talking about shoes. "When you go inside a place, you put your shoes out on the stoop," Rucksack said. "The crazy ones won't take them. Don't worry about that. And it tells other people the place is taken and to move right along. Find another. Saves." His eyes dropped to the heavy automatic weapon Clay was carrying. "Saves accidents." "Have there been accidents?" Tom asked. "Oh, yeah," Huck said with chilling indifference. "There's always accidents, people being what they are, but there's plenty of places, so there's no need for you to have one. Just put out your shoes." "Well, how do you know that?" Alice asked. He gave her a smile that improved his face out of all measure, but it was hard not to smile at Alice. She was young, and even at 3 in the morning, she was pretty. "People talk, I listen, I talk, sometimes other folks listen. Did you listen?" "Yes," Alice said. "Listening's one of my best things." "Then pass it on, but enough to have them to contend with." He didn't have to be more specific. Too bad to have accidents among ourselves on top of that. Clay thought of Natalie, pointing the 22. He said, "You're right. Thank you." Tom said, "That's one. The beer barrel polka, isn't it?" "That's right, son," Rucksack said. Myron Florine on the squeeze box, God rest his soul. You might want to stop in Gayton. It's a nice little village 2 miles or so up the road. Is that where you're going to stay? Alice asked. Oh, me and Rolf might push on a dike farther, he said. Why? Because we can, little man. Sorry, my phone was ringing. Where the heck did I go? Because we can, little man. Because we can, little man, that's all. You have a good day. This time they didn't contradict him, and although the 2 men had to be pushing 70, they were soon out of sight, following the beam of a single flashlight which rucksack Rolf held. Lawrence Welk and his champagne music makers? Tom marveled. Maybe elephant walk, Clay said and laughed. Why did Dodge have a good time too? Alice wanted to know. Because it could, I guess, Tom said, and burst out laughing at her perplexed expression. 11. The music was coming from Gayton, the nice little village Paxsack had recommended as a place to stop. It was not nearly as loud as the AC/DC concert Clay had gone to in Boston as a teenager that had left his ears ringing for days, but it was loud enough to make him think of summer band concerts he'd attended in South Berwick with his parents. In fact, he had it in his mind that they would discover the source of the music on the Gayton Town Common. Likely some elderly person on the phone crazy but disaster-addled who had taken it into his head to serenade the ongoing exodus with easy-listening oldies played through a set of battery-powered loudspeakers. There was a Gayton Town Common, but it was deserted, save for a few people eating either a late supper or an early breakfast by the glow of flashlights and common lanterns. The source of the music was a little farther to the north. By then, Lawrence Welk had given way to someone blowing a horn so mellow it was soporific. That's Wynton Marsalis, isn't it? Clay asked. He was ready to call it quits for the night and thought, Alice looked done, almost to death. Him or Kenny G, Tom said. You know what Kenny G said when he got off the elevator, don't you? No, Clay said, but I'm sure you'll tell me. Man, this place rocks. Clay said, that's so funny, I think my sense of humor just imploded. I don't get it, Alice said. It's not worth explaining, Tom said. Listen, guys, we've got to call it a night. I'm about killed. Me too, Alice said. I thought I was in shape for soccer, but I'm really, really tired. Yeah, Clay agreed. Baby makes 3. They had already passed through Gayton's shopping district, and according to the signs, Main Street, which was also Route 102, had now become Academy Avenue. This was no surprise to Clay because the sign on the outskirts of town had proclaimed Gayton home to historic Gayton Academy, an institute of which Clay had heard vague rumors. He thought it was one of those New England prep schools for kids who can't quite make it into Exeter or Milton. He supposed the 3 of them would be back in the land of Burger Kings, muffler repair shops, and chain motels soon enough. But this part of New Hampshire 102 was lined with very nice-looking homes. The problem was, there were shoes, sometimes as many as 4 pairs, in front of most of the doors. Foot traffic had thinned considerably as other travelers found shelter for the coming day, but as they passed Academy Grove Sitco and approached the fieldstone pillars flanking Gayton Academy's entrance drive, they began to catch up to a trio just ahead. 2 men and a woman, all well into middle age. As these three walked slowly up the sidewalk, they inspected each house for one without shoes placed at the front door. The woman was limping badly, and one of the men had his arm around her waist. Gayton Academy was on the left, and Clay realized this is where the music, currently droning string-legged version of Fly Me to the Moon, was coming from. He noticed two other things. One was that the road, litter here, torn bags, half-eaten vegetables, gnawed bones, was especially heavy, and that most of it turned in at a gravel academy drive. The other was that two people were standing there. One was an old man hunched over a cane. The other was a boy with a battery-powered lantern parked between his shoes. He looked no more than 12 and was dozing against one pillar. He was wearing what looked like a school uniform. Gray pants, gray sweater, a marine jacket with a crest on it. As the trio ahead of Clay and his friends drew abreast of the academy drive, the old man, dressed in a tweed jacket with patches on the elbows, spoke to them in a piercing, "I will be heard away" to the back of the lecture hall voice. "Hi there, I say, won't you come here? We can offer you shelter. More importantly, we don't have to anything, mister," the woman said. "I got 4 burst blisters, 2 on each foot, and I can hardly walk." "But there's plenty of room," the old fellow began. The man supporting the woman gave him a look that must have been unpleasant because the old fellow stopped. The trio went past the drive and the pillars and the sign. On old-fashioned iron S-hooks reading, Gayton Academy, established 1846. A young mind is a lamp in the darkness. The old fellow slumped over his cane again and saw Clay, Tom, and Alice approaching and straightened up once more. He seemed about to hail them, then apparently decided his lecture hall approach wasn't working. He poked his companion in the ribs with the tip of his cane instead. The boy straightened up with a wild look as behind them, where brick buildings loomed in the dark along the slope of a mild hill. "Fly Me to the Moon" gave way to an equally sluggish rendition of something that might once have been "I Get a Kick Out of You." "Jordan," he said, "your turn. Ask them in." The boy named Jordan started, blinking at the old man, then looked at the new trio of approaching strangers with gloomy mistrust. Clay thought of the March Hare and the Dormouse in Alice in Wonderland. Maybe that was wrong. Probably it was, but he was very tired. They won't be any different, sir," he said. "They won't come in. Nobody will. We'll try again tomorrow night. I'm sleepy." And Clay knew that, tired or not, they were going to find out what the old man wanted. Unless Tom and Alice absolutely refused, that was partly because the old man's companion reminded him of Johnny, yes, but mostly because the kid had made up his mind that no one was going to help in this not very brave new world. He and the one he called Sir were on their own because that was just how it went. Only if that were true, pretty soon there wouldn't be anything worth saving. "Go on," the old man encouraged him. He prodded Jordan with the tip of his cane again. "Not hard, not painfully. Tell them we can give them shelter, we have plenty of room, but they ought to see first. Someone needs to see this. If they also say no, we will indeed give up for the night." "All right, sir." The old man smiled, exposing a mouthful of large horse teeth. "Thank you, Jordan." The boy walked toward them with absolutely no relish, his dusty shoes scuffing, his shirt tail hanging below the hem of his sweater. He held his lantern in one hand, and it fizzed faintly. There were dark, up-all-night circles under his eyes, and his hair badly needed washing. "Tom?" Clay asked. "We'll see what he wants," Tom said, "because I can see it's what you want, but..." "Sirs, pardon me, sirs." "1 second," Tom said to the boy, then turned back to Clay. His face was grave. But it's going to start getting light in an hour, maybe less, so that old guy better be ready about there being a place for us to stay. Oh yes, sir, Jordan said. He looked like he didn't want to hope and couldn't help. Lots of places, hundreds of dorm rooms, not to mention. Keith Lodge, Tobias Wolf came last year and stayed there. He gave a lecture on his book Old School. I read that, Alice said, sounding bemused. The boys who didn't have cell phones have all run off. The ones who did have them... We know about them, Alice said. I'm a scholarship boy. I lived in Hallway. I didn't have a cell phone. I had to use the dorm mother's phone whenever I wanted to call home, and the other boys would make fun of me. Looks to me like you got the last laugh there, Jordan, Tom said. Yes, sir, he said dutifully, but in the light of his fizzing lantern clay, saw no laughter, only woe and weariness. Will you please come and meet the head? And although he had to be very tired himself, Tom responded with complete politeness, as if he had been standing on a sunny veranda, at a parent's tea perhaps, instead of on the trash-littered verge of Academy Avenue at 4:15 in the morning. That would be our pleasure, Jordan, he said. Well, on that note, boys and girls, we are going to go to our second music break. On this break, we have Mr. Hosni Bronx, who originally comes from Jamaica, but also lives in the Bronx of New York. Ain't that the Queens? So I was reading up on different things, and yeah, the Queens is where a lot of Jamaican people go, from what I heard. To me, that'd be a cool place to be during the winter, but hey, what do I know? I've never been there. Just from what I've learned, that's what I think, but Mr. Hosni Bronx with Free Child and Strong Life, and then we have King Cinnamon from Biafra, Nigeria with Rosie. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
I am a child of one who
Oh yeah, it's funky on the beat.
Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Cinnamon, cinnamon, do it softly. I said you wine your body, eat the sweetie, sweetie. Make it rock my body, I am feeling horny. Make it touch my body, I am feeling sweetie. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. All my men, they wear out. All my guys, they wear out. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. All my men, they wear out. All my guys, they wear out. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Mukeji, go bere muketa. Oya mukeji, oya bere muketa. Daddy mu ekon, omo ni pe mukeji. Daddy bere muketa, omo ni fún mi lẹ́yìn. Daddy fisi, omo ni ẹjọ́. Daddy saucy, omo ni ẹjọ́. Daddy kosi, omo ni ẹjọ́. Daddy tọ́hìn kosi, omo ni ẹjọ́. Daddy and his baby, them there for corner. Daddy begin the touch and the girl the holler. Now daddy begin the open the shirt collar. Now something come out. Daddy begin the suck up. Daddy mu ekon, omo ni pe mukeji. Daddy bere muketa, omo ni fún mi lẹ́yìn. Daddy fisi, omo ni ẹjọ́. Daddy saucy, omo ni ẹjọ́. All my men, they wear out. All my guys, they wear out. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. All my men, they wear out. All my guys, they wear out. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Cinnamon, do it softly. I said you wine your body, eat the sweetie, sweetie. Make it rock my body, I am feeling horny. Make it touch my body, I am feeling sweetie. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Kissy, amani, ejo. Daddy saucy, amani, ejo. Daddy kosi, amani, ejo. Daddy kahe kosi, amani, ejo. Daddy count out, amani, ejo. Daddy comfort, daddy consist, amani, ejo. Daddy count 8, daddy 120, amani, ejo. Daddy 18, daddy 240, amani, ejo. Daddy 360. Daddy and the baby, them there for corner. Daddy begin the touch and the girl the holler. Daddy begin the open the shirt collar. Something come, daddy begin the sucker. Daddy mu eko, omo ni pe mukeji. Daddy bere muketa, omo ni fún mi lẹ́yìn. Daddy fisi, omo ni ẹjọ́. Daddy saucy, omo ni ẹjọ́. All my men they wear out. All my guys they wear out. Imarama, 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 Imarama.
Oh yeah, it's funky on the beat.
Babylon to make you suffer. Babylon to make you suffer. Babylon make you suffer. What is desire? Young life. We are ready to fight. Hard life for my people. I don't know why my people live this life. I don't know why my people live this life. I don't know how to fight, 'cause my people suffer. What do you want, Babylon? I don't understand why this world is so strange, strange with my people. I don't know how to fight, but if we are together, it will work. It will work. Babylon no have no heart. 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 My people, you have to survive. Yeah, you must rebuild you and make your own way. You must not give up. The beginning of the revolt will start. We need to follow our true destiny. Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know why my people live this life. I don't know why my people live this life. The obstacle we face, yeah, is Babylon. The world is a good place, yeah, for our freedom. You take everything, you don't bring anything, yeah, yeah. Young life, all anti-dread. We must believe in a magical, powerful force that unite us, and not just these people stay speechless again. We don't want to talk, no, it's time to fight, yeah. We stop talking. Babylon make you suffer. 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 What is desire? Young life. We are ready to fight.
The Devil's Dinner Comms is what I used to call them, said Charles Ardain, who had been chairman of Gayton Academy's English department for 25 years and acting headmaster of the academy entire at the time of the polls. Now he stumped with surprising rapidity up the hill on his cane, keeping to the sidewalk, avoiding the river of swill that carpeted Academy Drive. Jordan walked watchfully beside him, the other three behind him. Jordan was about the old man losing his balance. Clay was worried that the man might have a heart attack trying to take a climb on that hill, even a relatively mild one like this at the same time. I never really meant it, of course. It was a joke, a jig, a comic exaggeration, but in truth, I never liked the things, especially in an academic environment. I might have moved to keep them out of school, but naturally I would have been overruled. Might as well try to legislate against the rising of the tide, eh? But he puffed rapidly several times. My brother gave me one of my 65th birthday. I ran the thing flat, just cat, and simply never recharged it. They emit radiation. Are you aware of this? In a minuscule amount, it's true, but still, a source of radiation that close to one's head, one's brain. Sir, you should wait until we get to Tony, Jordan said. He studied Ardea as the head's cane slid on a rotten piece of fruit, and he slipped momentarily, but at an alarming angle to port. Probably a good idea, Clay said. Yes, the head agreed. Only, I never trusted them. This is my point. I was never that way with my computer. Look that, like a duck to water. At the top of the hill, the campus main road split in a Y. The left fork wound its way to buildings that were almost surely dorms. The right one went toward lecture halls, a cluster of administration buildings, and an archway that glimmered white in the dark. The river of garbage and discarded wrappers flowed beneath it. Headmaster Arday led them that way, skirting as much of the litter as he could, Jordan holding his elbow. The coming from beyond the arc, and Clay saw dozens of discarded compacts. Now Bette Midler singing "The Wind Beneath My Wings" was there in the disc among the bones and empty potato chip bags. He was starting to get a bad feeling about this. Sir, Headmaster, maybe we should just... Well, fine, the head replied. Did you ever play musical chairs as a child? Of course you did. Well, as long as the music doesn't stop, we have nothing to worry about. We'll have a quick peek and then we'll go over to Cheatham Lodge. That's the headmaster's residence, not 200 yards from Tony Field, I promise you. Clay looked at Tom, who shrugged. Alice nodded. Jordan happened to be looking back at them rather anxiously, and he caught his collegial interplay. You ought to see it, he told them. The head's right about that. Until you see it, you don't really know. See what, Jordan? Alice asked. But Jordan only looked at her, big young eyes in the dark. Wait, he said. 13. Holy fucking shit, Clay said in his mind, the words sounding like a full-throated bellow of surprise and horror, with maybe a soupcon of outrage, but what actually emerged was more of a whipped whimper. Part of it might have been that this close to the music was almost as loud as that long-ago AC/DC concert, although Debbie Boone making her sweet schoolgirl way through You Light Up My Life was quite a stretch from Hell's Bells, even at full volume, but mostly it was pure shock. He thought that after the Pulse and their subsequent retreat from Boston, he'd be prepared for anything, but he was wrong. He didn't think prep schools like this indulged in anything so pleading and so smash-mouth as football, but soccer had apparently been a big deal. The stands stacking up on either side of Tony Field looked as if they could seat as many as 1,000, and they were decked with bunting that was only now beginning to look bedraggled. Bedraggled by the showery weather of the last few days. There was an elaborate scoreboard at the far end of the field with big letters marching along the top. Clay couldn't read the message in the dark and probably wouldn't have taken it in even if it had been daylight. There was enough light to see the field itself, and that was all that mattered. Every inch of grass was covered with foam crazies. They were lying on their backs, like like sardines in a can, leg to leg and hip to hip and shoulder to shoulder. Their faces stared up into the black pre-dawn sky. "Oh, my Lord Jesus," Tom said. His voice was muffled because one fist was pressed against his mouth. "Catch the girl," the head repeated. "She's going to faint." I'm all right," Alice said, but when Clay put his arm around her, she slumped against him, breathing fast. Her eyes were open, but they had a fixed, druggy look. "You're under the bleachers, too," Jordan said. He spoke with a studied, almost showy calmness. Clay did not believe for a minute. It was the voice of a boy assuring his pals that he's not grossed out by the maggots boiling in a dead cat's eyes, but just before he leans over and blows his groceries. Or his lunch or dinner, whatever he might have had. Me and the head think that's where they put the hurt ones that aren't going to get better. The head and I, Jordan. Sorry, sir. Debbie Boone achieved poetic catharsis and ceased. There was a pause, and then Lawrence Welk's champagne music makers once more began to play, maybe Elephant Walk. Dodge had a good time too, Clark thought. "How many of these boom boxes have they got rigged together?" he asked. "Headmaster RJ. And how did they do it? They're brainless, for Christ's sake, zombies." A terrible idea occurred to him, illogical and persuasive at the same time. Did you do it? To keep them quiet, or... I don't know. "He didn't do it," Alice said. She spoke quietly from her safe space within the circle of Clay's arms. "No, and both of your premises are wrong," the head told them. "Oh, I don't... They must be dedicated music lovers," Tom mused. "Because they don't like to go inside buildings, but that's where the CDs are." "Not to mention the boomboxes," Clay said. "There's no time to explain now. Already the sky has begun to lighten, and tell them, Jordan." Jordan replied dutifully, with the air of one who recites a lesson he does not understand. "All good vampires must be in before cockcrow, sir." What? "That's right, before cockcrow. For now, only look. That's all you need to do. You didn't know there were places like this, did you?" "Alice knew," Clay said. They looked, and because the night had begun to wane, Clay realized that the eyes in all those faces were open. He was pretty sure they weren't seeing, they were just open. Something bad's going on here, he thought. The flocking was only the beginning of it. Looking at the packed bodies and the empty faces, mostly white, this was New England after all, was awful. But the blank eyes turned up to the night sky filled with the unreasoning horror. Somewhere not too distant, the morning's first bird began to sing. It wasn't a crow, but the head still jerked, then tottered. This time it was Tom who steadied it. "Come on," the head told him. "It's only a short walk to Chitham Lodge, but we ought to start. The damp has made me stiffer than ever. Take my elbow, Jordan." Alice broke free of Clay and went to the old man's other side. He gave her a rather forbidding smile and a shake of his head. "Jordan can take care of me. We take care of each other now. Eh, Jordan?" "Yes, sir." "Jordan?" Tom asked. They were nearing a large and rather pretentious Tudor-style dwelling that Clay presumed was Chetham Lodge. "Sir?" "The sign over the scoreboard. I couldn't read it. What did it say?" "Welcome alumni to homecoming weekend." Jordan almost smiled, then remembered there would be no homecoming weekend this year. The bunting on the stands had already begun to tatter, and the brightness left his face. If he hadn't been so tired, he might still have held his composure, but It was very late, almost dawn, and as they made their way up the walk to the headmaster's residence, the last student at Gayton Academy, still wearing his colors of maroon and gray, burst into tears. "14. That was incredible, sir," Clay said. He had fallen into Jordan's mode of address very naturally, so had Tom and Alice. "Thank you." "Yes," Alice said. "Thanks. I've never eaten 2 burgers in my life, at least not big ones like that." It was 3 o'clock the following afternoon. They were on the back porch of Cheatham Lodge. Charles Arday. Oh, my goodness, it comes down. Oh, now I can't even see it. Charles Arday, the head, as Jordan called him, had grilled the hamburgers on a small gas grill. He said the meat was perfectly safe because the generator powering the cafeteria's freezer had run until noon yesterday, and indeed the patties he took from the cooler Tom and Jordan had carried in from the pantry had still been white with frost and as hard as hockey pucks. He said that grilling the meat would probably be safe until 5 o'clock, although prudence dictated an early meal. "They'd smell the cooking," Clay asked. "Let's just say that we have no desire to find out," the head replied. "Have we, Jordan?" "No, sir," Jordan said, and took a bite of his second burger. He was slowing down, but Clay thought he'd managed to do his duty. Want to be beside when they wake up and inside when they come back from town. That's when they go to town. They're picking it clean like birds in a field of grain. That's what the head says. "They were flocking back home earlier when we were in Malden," Alice said. "Not that we were where home for them was." She was eyeing a tray with pudding cups on it. "Can I have one of those?" "Yes, indeed." The head pushed the tray toward her. "And another hamburger, if you like. What we don't eat soon will just spoil." Alice groaned and shook her head, but she took a pudding cup. So did Tom. They seemed to leave at the same time each morning, but the home flocking behavior has been starting later, Arday said thoughtfully. "Why would that be?" "Slimmer pickings?" Alice asked. "Perhaps." He took a final bite of his own hamburger, then covered the remains neatly with a paper napkin. "There are many flocks, you know, maybe as many as a dozen within a 50-mile radius. You know from people going south that there are flocks in Sandown, Fremont, and Candia. They forage about almost aimlessly in the daytime, perhaps for music as well as food, then go back to where they came from." "You know this for sure?" Tom said. He finished one pudding cup and reached for another. Arday shook his head. "Nothing is for sure, Mr. McCourt." His hair, a long rectangle, an English professor's head for sure, Clay thought, rippled a bit in the mild afternoon breeze. The clouds were gone, the back porch gave them a good view of the campus, and so far, it was deserted. Jordan went around the house at regular intervals to scout the hill sloping down to Academy Avenue, and reported all quiet there as well. "You've not seen any of the other roosting places?" "Nope," Tom said. "But we're traveling in the dark," Clay reminded him, "and now the dark is really, really dark." "Middle-aged, sir?" "Yeah," he patted Jordan's shoulder. "Even big flocks would be easy to miss," Clay said. "They wouldn't have to be hiding?" No, they're not hiding," Headmaster Arday agreed, steeping his fingers. "Not yet, at any rate. They flock, they forage, and Their group mind may break down a bit while they forward, but perhaps less. Every day, perhaps less. Manchester burned to the ground, Jordan said suddenly. We could see the fire from here, couldn't we, sir? Yes, the head agreed. It's very sad and frightening. Is it true that people trying to cross into Manchesters are being shot at the border? Jordan asked. That's what people are saying. People are saying that you have to go to Vermont, only that way is safe. It's a crock, Clay said. We heard the same thing about the New Hampshire border. Jordan goggled at him for a moment, then burst out laughing. The sun was clear and beautiful in the still air. Then, in the distance, a gun went off. And closer, someone shouted in either rage or horror. The head looked at Jordan. Yes, the boy said. That's all soft stuff. No rock, no country. I should guess nothing classical either, the head put in. Not of challenging nature at any rate. Yes, there are lullabies, Jordan said. That's what the head and me think it, isn't it? The head and I, Jordan. Head and I, yes, sir. But it is indeed what we think, the head agreed. Although I suspect there may be more to it than that. Yes, quite a bit more. Clay was flummoxed. He hardly knew how to go on. He looked at his friends, and he saw on their faces what he was feeling. Not just puzzlement, but dreadful reluctance to be enlightened. Leaning forward, Headmaster Arday said, May I be frank? I must be frank. It is the habit of a lifetime. I want you to help us do a terrible thing. The time to do it is short, I think, and while one such act alone may come not to nothing, one never knows, does one? One never knows what sort of communication may flow between these flocks. In any case, I will not stand idly by while these things steal away not only my school, but the very daylight itself. I might have attempted it already, but I'm old, and Jordan is very young, too young. Whatever they are now, they were human not long ago. I won't let him be a part of this. I can do my share, sir, Jordan said. He spoke as stoutly, Clay thought, as a Muslim teenager who ever strapped on a suicide belt stood with explosives. I salute your courage, Jordan, the head told him, but I think not. He looked at the boy kindly, but when he returned his gaze to the others, his eyes had hardened considerably. You have weapons, good ones, and I have nothing but an old single-shot .22 rifle that may not even work anymore, although the barrel's open and I've looked. Even if it does work, the cartridges I have for it may not fire, but we have a gasoline pump at our little motor pool, and the gasoline might serve to end their lives. We must have seen the horror in their faces because he nodded to Clay. He no longer looked like kindly old Mr. Chips. He looked like a Puritan elder in an old painting, one who could have sentenced a man to stocks without batting an eye, or a woman to be burned at the stake as a witch. He nodded at Clay in particular. Clay was sure of it. I know what I'm saying. I know how it sounds, but it wouldn't be murder, not really. It would be extermination, and I have no power to make you do anything. But in any case, whether you help me burn them or not, you must pass on a message. To who? Alice asked me. To everyone you meet, Miss Maxwell. He leaned over the remains of their meal, those hanging judge eyes sharp and small and burning hot. You must tell what's happening to them, to the ones who heard the infernal message on the devil's intercoms. You must pass this on. Everyone who has had the daylight robbed from them must hear, and before it's too late. He passed a hand over his lower face, and Clay saw the fingers were shaking a little. It would be easy to dismiss that as a sign of the man's age, but he hadn't seen any tremors before. We're afraid it soon will be, aren't we, Jordan? Yes, sir. Jordan certainly thought he knew something, yet he looked terrified. What's happening to them? Clay asked. It's got something to do with music and those wired-together boomboxes, doesn't it? Right? The head sage, suddenly looking tired. They're not wired together, he said. Do you remember me telling you that both of your premises were wrong? Lucky us, Tom muttered, but Clay barely heard him. He was trying to get the sense of what our day had just said. They're not wired together. How could that be? It really couldn't. The sound system, the boomboxes, if you like, are placed all around the field, the head went on, and they're all on. At night, you can see their little red power lamps. Yes, Alice said. I did notice some red lights. I just didn't think anything of it. But there's nothing in them. No compact disc or cassettes. And no wires linking them. They're just waves that pick up the master disc audio and rebroadcast it. If their mouths are open, the music comes from them too, Jordan said. It's just little, hardly a whisper, but you can hear it. No, Clay said. That's your imagination, kiddo. Gotta be. I haven't heard that myself, Artie said, but of course my ears aren't what they were back when I was Gene Vincent and the Blue Caps fan. Back in the day, or as friends would say. You're very old school, sir, Jordan said. He spoke with gentle solemnity and unmistakable affection. Yes, Jordan, I am, the head agreed. He clapped the boy on the shoulder, then turned his attention to the others. If Jordan says he's heard it, I believe him. It's not possible, Clay said. Not without a transmitter. I'm thinking maybe a chip. They are transmitting, the head said. It is a skill they seem to have picked up since the pulse. Wait, Tom said. He raised one hand like a traffic cop, lowered it, began to speak, raised it again. From his place of dubious shelter at Headmaster Arday's side, Jordan watched him closely. At last, Tom said, Are we talking telepathy here? I should guess that's not exactly le mot juste for this particular phenomenon, they had answered, but why stick technicalities? I would be willing to wager all the frozen hamburgers remaining in my cooler that the word has been used among you before today. You'd win double burgers? Clay said. Well, yeah, but the flocking thing is different, Tom said. Because... The head raised his tangled brows. Well, because Tom couldn't finish, and Clay knew why it wasn't different. The clocking and flocking wasn't human behavior, and they'd known it from the moment they'd observed George, the mechanic, following the woman in the filthy pantsuit across Tom's front lawn to Salem Street. He'd been walking so closely behind her that he couldn't have bitten her neck. But he hadn't. And why? Because for the phone crazies, biting was done. Fucking had begun. At least biting their own kind was done, unless... Professor Ade, at the beginning, they killed everyone. Yes, the head agreed. We were very lucky to escape, weren't we, Jordan? Jordan shuddered and nodded. The kids ran everywhere, even so of the teachers, killing, biting, babbling nonsense stuff. I hid in one of the greenhouses for a while. And I in the attic of this very house, the head added. I watched out of the small window up there as the campus. The campus I love. Literally went to hell. Jordan said, most of the ones who didn't die ran away toward downtown. Now a lot of them are back over there. He nodded his head in the general direction of the soccer field. All of which leads us to what? Clay asked. I think you know, Mr. Rydell said. Clay? Clay, fine, I think. What's happening now is more than temporary anarchy. I think it's the start of a war. It's going to be a short but extremely nasty one. But, you think you're overstating? I don't. While I have only my own observations to go on, mine and Jordan's, we've had a very large flock to observe, and we've seen them going and coming as well. As resting, shall we say. They've stopped killing each other, but they continue to kill the people who would classify as normal. I call that warlike behavior. You've actually seen the killing animals? Tom asked. Beside him, Alice opened her pack, removed the baby knife, and held it in her hand. The head looked at him gravely. I have. I'm sorry to say that Jordan has too. We couldn't help, Jordan said. His eyes were leaking. There were too many. It was a man and a woman, see? I don't know what they were doing on campus so close to dark, but they sure couldn't have known about Tony Field. She was hurt. He was helping her along. They ran into about 20 of them on their way back from town. The man tried to carry her. Jordan's voice began to break. On this, his own, he might have gotten away, but with her, he only made it as far as Thornton Hall. That's a dorm, but that's where he fell down and they caught them. They seem to know their enemies, the head mused. It may well have been part of their original message, don't you think? Maybe, Clay said. It made a nasty sort of sense. As to where they are doing at night as they lie there, so still and open-eyed, listening to the music, the head said, took a handkerchief from one of his pockets and wiped the boy's eyes with it in a matter-of-fact fashion. Clay saw he was both very frightened and very sure that whatever conclusion he had drawn. I think they're rebooting, he said. You know the Red Lattice, don't you? The head asked in his caring, I will be heard all the way to the back of the lecture hall, please. I count at least 60. Hush up, Tom hissed. He did everything but clap a hand over the old man's mouth. The head looked at him calmly. Have you forgotten what I said last night about musical chairs, Tom? Tom, Clay, and Audrey were standing just beyond the turnstiles, with the Tony Field Archway at their backs. Alice had stayed at the lodge as Jordan by mutual agreement. The music currently drifting up from the prep school soccer field was a jazz instrumental version of The Girl from Ipanema. I don't know how to pronounce that. Clay thought it was probably cutting-edge stuff if you were FM crazy. No, Tom said. As long as the music doesn't stop, we have nothing to worry about. I just don't want to be the guy who just gets his throat torn out by an insomniac exception to the rule. Ooh. This exception, but inception could work too. Anyways, you won't. You can. How can you be positive, sir? Tom asked. Because, to make a small literary pun, we cannot call it sleep. Come. He started down the concrete ramp the players once took to reach the field, saw that Tom and Clay were hanging back and looked at them patiently. Little knowledge is gained without risk, he said, and at this point, I would say knowledge is critical. Wouldn't you? Come. They followed his rapping cane down the ramp toward the field. Clay a little ahead of Tom. Yes, he could see the red power lamps of the boomboxes circling the field. 60 or 70 looked about right. Good-sized sound settings spotted at 10 or 15-foot intervals, each one surrounded with bodies. By starlight, those bodies were an eye-boggling sight. They were stacked, and packed. Each had his or her own space, but not so much as an inch had been wasted. Even the arms had been interwoven so that the impression was one of the paper dolls carpeting the field, rank on rank, while the music, like something you'd hear in a supermarket, oh yeah, Clay thought, rose in the dark. Something else rose as well. A sallow smell of dirt and rotting vegetables, with a thicker odor of human waste and putrefaction lingering just beneath. They had skirted the goal, which had been pushed aside, overturned, and netting shredded. Here, where the lake of bodies started, lay a young man of about 30 with jagged bite marks running up one arm to the sleeve of his NASCAR t-shirt. The bites looked infected. In one hand, he held a red cap that made Clay think of Alice's pet sneaker. He started dually up to the stairs as Bette Midler once more began singing about the wind beneath my wings. Clay! The head cried in his rust-piercing voice. He poked the young man briskly in the middle of the tip of his cane, pushing in until the young man broke wind and said, Hi, I say hi. Stop it, Tom almost groaned. The head gave him a look of tight-lipped scorn, then worked the tip of his cane into the cap of the young man as he was holding it. He flicked it away, and the cap sailed about 10 feet and landed on the face of a middle-aged woman. Clay watched, fascinated, as it slid partially aside, revealing one wrapped and blinked his eye. The young man reached up with dreamy slowness and clutched the hand that had been holding the cap into a fist. Then he subsided. He thinks he's holding it again, Clay whispered, fascinated. Perhaps, the head replied without much interest. He poked the tip of his cane against one of the young man's infected bites. It should have hurt like hell, but the young man didn't react, only went on staring up at the sky as Bette Midler gave way to Dean Martin. I could put my cane right through his throat, and he wouldn't try to stop me, nor would those around him spring to his defense, although, in the daytime, I have no doubt they'd tear me limb from limb, wind beneath my wings, or whatever the practice other guys saying. Yes, in all of them, they do seem to need batteries. They had considered that that is something Clay could have done without. As for We can wait, right? Couldn't we? Clay said. We could wipe them out the way hunters exterminated passengers' pigeons back in the 1880s. The head nodded. Dashed their little brains out as they sat on the ground, didn't they? Not a bad analogy, but I'd make slow work of it with my game. You'd make slow work of it even with your automatic weapon, I'm afraid. I don't have enough bullets in any case. There must be. Clay ran his eyes over the packed bodies again. Looking at them made his head hurt. There must be 600 or 700, and that's not even counting the ones under the bleachers. I don't have enough bullets in any case. There must be. Clay ran his eyes over the packed bodies again. Sir? Mr. Ardei? It was Tom. How did I determine the depth of this trance state? Is that what you're asking me? Tom nodded. I came out the first night to observe. The flock was much smaller than that, of course, and I was drawn to them out of a simple but overwhelming curiosity. Jordan wasn't with me. Switching to a nighttime existence has been rather hard for him, I'm afraid. You risked your life, you know, Clay said and asked. I had little choice, the head replied. It was like being hypnotized. I quickly grasped the fact that they were unconscious, even though their eyes were open, and a few simple experiments with the tip of my cane confirmed the depth of the state. Clay thought of the head's name, thought of asking him if he considered what would have happened to him if he'd been wrong and they'd come after him, and held his tongue. They might have even chopped it out, you never know. Anywho, the head would no doubt reiterate what was right, what he'd already said. No knowledge obtained without risk. Jordan was right. This was one very old school dude. Man, you're old. Man, you get out of here. You're like a fungus among us. 700's a very low estimate, Clay. This was a regulation-sized soccer field. That's 6,000 square yards. How many? The way they're packed together, I should say 1,000 at the very least, and they're not really here at all, are they? You sure of that? I am, and what comes back a little more each day, Jordan said. And the same, and he's an acute observer. You may trust me on that. It's not what they were. Which is to say, not human. That's weird. Can we go back to the lodge now? Tom asked. He sounded sick. Of course, the head agreed. Just a second, Clay said. He knelt beside the young man in the NASCAR t-shirt. He didn't want to do it, but he couldn't help thinking that the hand which had clutched for the red cap would now clutch at him. But he made himself. Down here at ground level, the stink was worse. He had believed he was getting used to it, but he had been wrong. Don't be wrong. Okay, so I lost my place again. I'm like, what the crap? But, alright. No, the head replied. Unfortunately, I don't, as I said. This is war, or so I believe. And what one does in war is kill one's enemy. Why don't we go back and talk it over? We could have some hot cocoa, aka chocolate. I like a tiny splash of bourbon in mine, barbarian that I am. At the top of the ramp, Clay stared one final look back. Tonyville was dark, but under strong northern starlight, not too dark to make out the carpet of bodies spread from one end to end and side by side. He thought he might not know what we're looking at if you just happened to stumble on it, but once you did, oh my goodness. His eyes played him a funny trick, and for a moment he almost thought he could see them breathing. All 800 or 1,000 of them, could you admit? As an organism, well, it's just like, okay, so I want to say the Left Behind, but I don't think that's the name for it. It's something else. And it had this girl, this guy. This guy started out with his own daughter, and then he came upon this one chick after his own daughter died, and things have been weird and complicated and difficult. But, oh my god, I'm waiting for the next chapter for this because I love that series. I don't think it's behind it. It's something like that. Anyways. His eyes played him a funny trick, and for a moment he almost thought he could see them breathing, all 800 or 1,000 of them, as an organism. That frightened him badly, and he turned to catch it. Tom and Headmaster Arday almost running. Oh my god, guys. I don't know if you agree, and if you don't agree, hey, that's all fucking cool then. This is freaking insane in the freaking membrane, I must say. The world's gone to hell in a handbasket. We have Iran, Iraq, Jerusalem. It was Jerusalem and this other place beforehand. And could you imagine, like, going to get the food for your family? Like, okay, so it's scheduled. We gotta go to this port where these trucks are backed up. We're gonna go and we're gonna get food for our family. And when this happens, we're gonna get food for our families and we'll be fine. And then what happens? What the crack happens? People go, mostly men, sometimes women, sometimes cousins, sometimes nieces, sometimes nephews. I don't know, a lot of time the men are left out and the women go. Although we're the ones that prolong life, we suspend and project life. Oh my goodness. Oh my god. Okay. Oh my god. Okay. Bam. You guys, thank you so much once again for hanging out with me tonight. And thank you so much for joining me on PR Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. It was a pleasure and an honor having you hang out with me, for sure. And thank you to all of our friends on We Are Paradox Media's Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, iHeartRadio, wherever you may be listening Beyond the Omniverse tonight. I had an awesome and wonderful time, and I just can't wait to do it again next weekend. Oh man, I'd have to break out my calendar to tell you what exactly is going on. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, we got something going on, for sure. We need to stick together, and like I said, together we can make the world a bit better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. Fam, we gotta stick together, for real. Until next time, night, love and light, have a wonderful evening, and rest of your weekend, which I'm pretty sure we're into Monday, but I will see you back here some crazy time, some crazy place. Mwah.